بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون يا أيها الناس اعبدوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما أما بعد فإن أصدق الحديث كتاب الله وخير الحدي حدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار.
We find that tonight's topic about ahmiyatul ilm, the importance of the quest or the search of knowledge. And we find that this has always been a shi'ar or a symbol or a sign of Ahlul Sunnah. That Ahlul Sunnah are the people, or Ahlul Hadith, or Ahlul Riwayah, or Ahlul Athar, are people who are always concentrating on searching for knowledge. The quest for knowledge is always there, reading and checking and searching to quench that thirst of knowledge that they have. And we find that they are aiding themselves, alaykum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and aiding other people, because we find that the alim is rectifying people in a good manner. Especially in this day and age, we find that many people don't want to listen to the general masses, but they'll take a word or a religious verdict or a fatwa from a person who's well versed in the understanding of al-Islam. And so we find that, especially now, we find that Muslims should be searching for al-Islam, searching to have knowledge of the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we find that the whole essence of Islam begins with the word Iqra. And we find that Iqra is fi'l amr, is a verb in the imperative form, carrying more than just the meaning of proclaim and teach people about the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but also to read is also one of the other meanings of the word Iqra. Iqra bismi rabbika alladhi khalaq, khalaqa al-insana min alaq, Iqra wa rabbuka al-akram alladhi allama bil qalam, allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam. Read by the name of your Lord who created you, taught you that which you do not know, created you from a clot of blood. Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam, taught him that which he did not know. And then we find that the ayat, they continue. Kalla inna al-insana la yatgha ar-ra'ahu istaghna inna ila rabbika ruj'a ara'ayta alladhi yanha 'abdan idha salla ara'ayta in kana 'ala al-huda aw amara bit-taqwa. Have you not seen him, that he becomes arrogant and proud? He becomes boastful amongst people. After knowing nothing, he becomes boastful. Ara'ahu istaghna, that he thinks he is all in his own. He does not have to answer to anyone. And so we find that this is al-insan. Allama al-insana ma lam ya'lam, taught man that which he did not know. And that's why we find in the Quran as well, in the 68th surah, Suratul Qalam, Noon wal qalami wa ma yasturun. Noon, the harf noon, and by the pen, by that which it scribes or that which it writes. Once again showing the emphasis of the seeking of knowledge has been laid down inside the Quran. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has stated the essence of man, that he becomes better than the angels. When the debate took place between, when the angels debated with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you're going to create a nation or a people who are going to cause corruption on the land, who are going to kill people and spill blood. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told them that I know that which you do not know. And then he taught Adam, وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ أَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. He taught Adam the names of everything. And you read the books of tafsir, the books of tafsir, you find that the ulama, they write that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught him the names of plants, of fruits, of soil, of the animals, everything. He was taught the name of everything. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said to the angels that why don't you make mention of these things, make mention of these names. But they were not able to do that. لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. We only have the knowledge which you have given to us. So once again showing the distinction of mankind, al-insan, being given knowledge, making him above the angels. The angels are limited in their understanding, but the man, al-insan, has been given more perception and understanding than the angels. And that's why we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala conferred a great blessing upon the human being. That out of knowing nothing, He gave mankind so much understanding of this dunya. وَاللَّهُ أَخْرَجَكُم مِّن بُطُونِ أُمَّهَاتِكُمْ لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. He is the one, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, took you out of the wombs of your mother. Took you out of the stomach of your mother. لَا تَعْلَمُونَ شَيْئًا. You didn't know anything. وَجَعَلَ لَكُمُ السَّمْعَ وَالْأَبْصَارَ وَالْأَفْئِدَةَ لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. He gave you the faculty of hearing, of seeing, and perceiving and feeling in your heart for one purpose. لَعَلَّكُمْ تَشْكُرُونَ. That you may become grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the whole of al-Islam. أَمَّا أَن تَكُونَ الشَّاكِرِينَ وَأَمَّا أَن تَكُونَ كَافِرِينَ. To become those who are grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, or to become ungrateful. So we find that the more the person matures in their life, that's why we find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala referred to the Anbiya, that He gave them hukman wa ilma. He gave them correct judgment, and He gave them knowledge. That the more that you travel in this path of knowledge, the more that you come closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're able to perceive things. They're both going hand in hand together. That the more you understand the knowledge of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the more you're able to judge and make a concise judgment by the permission of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And we find that, especially in this day and age, that knowledge has become something very, very important for everybody. Because we find that just like we need to eat, to drink, all these aspects, we need to do these things as part of life. Likewise, we need to seek knowledge. It becomes a fundamental part of our life that we have to seek knowledge in the basic things that we are doing in our life. Likewise, we find the people who've conquered over the Muslim lands, that how are you going to refute them, or how are you going to turn back towards these people or argue against them? So you need to have al-ilm. You need to have knowledge to refute the attacks that these people place upon al-Islam. And likewise, we find al-intishar al-madahib al-haddama, any false beliefs, false madhabs, and he spread amongst the Muslim ummah that people believe all types of things. That people believe in philosophy is part of Islam, and all other types of attributes that they give to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So who is going to respond to this? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not going to send another book from the heavens. It has to be some people have to stand up and have to defend the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And likewise, alaykum as-salam wa rahmatullah, as-sahwatul islamiyah, that this uprising that you find at the moment, it entails two things. One is the struggle of your life, and the other one is the struggle of your soul, or struggle of your mind as well. That both of them go together. That there can be no uprising, any renaissance or anything that can come again without fighting in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and having knowledge. To such an extent that some ulama have gone to the opinion from the verse in Surah At-Tawbah towards the end, that knowledge takes precedence even over jihad fi sabilillah. That those people who go out in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala should come back. That one ta'ifah should remain behind, لِيَتَّفَقَّهُ فِي الدِّينِ, that they may learn the sciences. So when they return back, they may teach them the sciences. So in this extent, not everyone should go out in the way of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. One group should remain behind and learn the sciences of Islam, so when they come back to warn them and to teach them. So both of these go together. Yani al-jihad, wa da'wah, and al-ilm together. All this goes together. When you begin to separate this and say that there is only knowledge or there is only jihad, then you know that any of these movements are going on the wrong path. They both have to go in hand together. There has to be some people defending the religion of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through the sword, and some people have to defend it by the pen or by the words that they speak to tell people what is right and what is wrong. And likewise we find as many people of principles they write, يعني ما لا يتم الواجب إلا به فهو واجب. For example, what this means is that to pray is wajib, and to offer the prayer you need to have ablution. So ablution becomes wajib, it becomes an obligation. And likewise you need to fast, you need to perform hajj, you need to do umrah, you need that key tool, you need knowledge. So knowledge becomes fard, it becomes wajib. You have to seek knowledge. It's not a concept that maybe I don't need it, but for the mundane things that we all do, how to pray, how to fast, etc., marital life, etc., it all becomes wajib upon you. If you're involved in a business transaction, it becomes wajib upon you to search the rules and regulations. What does Islam say, how to conduct a good transaction? And we find that the reason why this Muslim ummah has become so weak in its comprehension of al-ilm, one is khiyab ta'thirul masajid, the absence of the role of the masjid. The masjid no longer plays that fundamental role of teaching people their deen. Many of the masajid that we find, not just in this country, in the Muslim countries, that after Salat al-Isha, then the masjid is closed. That is it. That is the end of the day. But the masjid is the first house of teaching people the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Likewise, we find qillatul ulama al-amilin. We find very few ulama who carry out good actions, or who practice what they preach. Very few ulama. You find masses of ulama. If you look at Al-Azhar Sharif, this institute in Cairo, grand institute, even respected by the non-Muslims, but what do they produce? Very few ulama who practice what they preach. And their fatwa are clearly in front of us about the hijab, about al-riba, all of these things. That which is clearly haram, that even a child in the street knows that